Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on Star Wars Outlaws. This is a new video game about a smuggler who's basically a female version of Han Solo. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. Links in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 11 available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So, the problem with Star Wars stuff is the same. It's the same in terms of the story. Now, this looks great. The look of it is really nice. The cutscenes, I assume these are all cutscenes, look really good. So graphic-wise, you can't beat it. The music's nice. They even show you a scene. It looks like Han Solo being moved in the carbonite. And you know, the usual stuff. Stormtroopers and spaceships. And she's got a ship that sort of vaguely resembles the Millennium Falcon, but isn't. It's, you know, people running from things that are never quite defined is the problem. You know, here it's trying to focus just on the criminal syndicates that she keeps making reference to. Oh, the syndicates, the syndicates. The problem with that is, and I've said this before in other Star Wars things, and I'll leave it on the monster. The syndicates don't really work under an authoritarian government. They just don't work. Who are they shaking down? Who are the syndicates robbing? They can't rob the Empire. Those guys just shoot you. That's what they do. That's what authoritarians do. That's the one thing authoritarians do well. Is they put down all the crime. Now there's corruption within the Empire, or there should be. But there wouldn't be these syndicates. Who do they shake down? In order for organized crime to work, it has to have something to steal. And that's always been the problem with Star Wars, right? The first Star Wars movie, Han Solo is loading boxes onto a cart, you know, with his reward. You don't even know what's on it. What's his reward? It's implied it's some kind of money. It's implied, you know, whatever he owes Jabba or whatever. That works in the movie because it's just a quick scene, and that's not really the focus of the film. But now they're trying to make the syndicates the focus of the thing. What are they stealing? Who are they stealing from? Where's the business? If the Empire doesn't control it and the syndicates do, like, you can't just have... You have to have more stuff. It just doesn't work, in my view. Now, if you ignore all that and say, well, they're a bunch of aliens, they somehow make it work. They somehow make it work, I guess. But it's kind of the same stuff anyway. It's a cantina, a sleazy cantina, and she's in some sort of card game, alien card game, and then the bounty hunters show up to get her. Now, the pitch is, in the story, the guy who ends up making her an offer and instituting all the game stuff says, well, you know, you'll be able to do this and make a bunch of money, whatever the money is in this Star Wars, again, very ill-defined, and then you'll never have to look over your shoulder again. But that's simply not true. The Empire steamrolls over everyone. They blow up entire planets. So I think you have to worry about the Empire. Always. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you can find a planet they won't eventually invade. You can't bribe the Empire, really. Their army's a bunch of clones. What are you going to bribe them with exactly? The syndicates, okay, I guess you could make a bunch of money and have your own syndicate, but again, the Empire would steamroll them too eventually. They might have some resistance, I guess. It's the Star Wars world doesn't make a certain amount of sense after a point. See, the first three movies it works because the Republic and everything that went before was implied. It was all implied. It was all implied that there was something there that the Empire destroyed or took over or were taking over, right? So in the first movie, it's like this is the Empire at their peak now. They're just about to get to the point where no one could stand against them with the Death Star, and boom, they lose the Death Star. Second movie, with their vast resources, they make a comeback, and then in the third movie, they're teetering on the brink, and then the rebels win. That's basically the end of the story. And again, unless you map out how some of this works, none of it works. To continue to, they've been trying to do this for years, and I'm sure in some of the books it probably works. They probably have more details in terms of the funds and how the economies work and the resources that they need, but it doesn't work in the movies because they never quite explain it. One movie that attempted to was Solo, the worst Star Wars movie ever made, and that was like introducing the dilithium crystals in the last episode of Star Trek. It was like, oh, that's how they fly all the ships and power everything? It's news to me. News to me that that's important. And that movie supposedly takes place in the timeline in the past. This is a real problem with Star Wars. Now, if you want to ignore all that, sure. You know, if it's some kid who doesn't really know anything about Star Wars, I'm sure this will play enough. It's enough of a story that you run from ship to ship doing whatever the video game tells you to do, I guess. The storyline, though, to me, just doesn't work. It's also got this voiceover where it was like, my whole life, people have been telling me what to do. It's like, my whole life, people have been oppressing me. It's this theme over and over and over again. It doesn't work. Not for me. What would work is, worlds that you didn't know who was in charge, right? Like Star Trek, early Star Trek had that. You had the Federation, but you also had the Klingons, and you also had the Romulans, and a couple other races, and they controlled various sectors of space, but did they control it all? No. And some planets, nobody controlled. They were independent of all this. Potentially, they were fighting over it. There was a paradigm and a dynamic there that kind of made it like, ooh, who's in charge? Even the Borg, they threw in the Borg. The Borg's a little too powerful, but they threw it in. But even the Borg wasn't all powerful. Later, and don't get me started on the later stuff, it got too crazy. But you need that sort of paradigm for the story to work. If you just want to do space stuff, why spend all this money on a new game? I guess it looks pretty, sounds better, and music's nice, but I don't know. This could just all be the cutscenes. Could be really dopey missions where you do dopey things. I don't know. But Star Wars Outlaw, if Star Wars had some kind of sheriff, the Jedis aren't sheriffs, by the way. Again, another problem in Star Wars, like, what were the Jedi? They didn't really, at least in the movies. I'm talking mostly about the movies. I'm sure in the books, some of the authors would have mapped that out. That would have been the first thing I would have done if I was one of the authors on Star Wars. I would have said, well, no, we got to come up with a dynamic here that makes sense economically. Law enforcement, who's running what, why the Empire doesn't just steamroll everybody. Something. But I don't see that in this game, and I don't see that in a lot of their movies. It's just like, oh, look out, the Empire's coming, run! And that's what it turns into. It just turns into like, oh, don't think about it. Oh, there's a chase, run away. Oh, there's a cool cantina scene. Oh, you can play cards for a while till the Empire comes. Then run. Oh no, monsters here. It's just, it's almost like they won't hire anybody to write the damn story, and they keep shaking their keys to distract you that there is no story. But, at the end of the day, it's just a video game, so it still might be fun, I guess. It's not for me, though. Not for me. Nah. Now, maybe they do... there's nothing here. Now, maybe they do something cool, like she goes to all that trouble and makes all the money, and in the end, she still doesn't have any safety. Still, there's someone else to push her around. I don't know. Maybe. But do you want to give Star Wars your money now, considering the long trek we've been on with Star Wars? I mean, if you still are into Star Wars, I guess. For me, I'm so done. I don't want to give these people money. To me, they're just wasting it at this point. They're just wasting it on projects that creatively, they're just dead. They're DOA the moment they come out. They can't fix this franchise. It's too big and sprawling and full of nonsense at this point. It's just a bunch of characters I don't care about, a bunch of alien races and planets that used to have a kind of history that I could get behind, and now it's just a big mess that no one is going to fix. George Lucas could maybe fix it. And even Lucas, he wasn't really a writer in the classic sense of like Tolkien. He wasn't he wasn't a writer first. He was a filmmaker first. And to his credit, he made some good films. Could he fix this? Maybe, I guess, if he gave him enough time. But I think a writer could do better, if they really were hyped to do it. I don't know, George R.R. Martin? Someone like, I don't know, Neil Gaiman. He could probably fix it. But it would require sweeping changes that I don't think the studio, video game, or movie would allow. They wouldn't follow it anyway. At the end of the day, they'd just be like, no, we have to have Wookiees in this. I think. So, Star Wars Outlaws, I guess. If you want that. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble. Check us out at the live stream. We'll do it live at 7 p.m. today. It's 4:21. I'm going to get some dinner rolling so I can be ready for the live stream, Joan. Are you psyched? Are you psyched for the live stream? Well, it's going to be fun. We're going to talk about vigilante movies. And we'll see you in the next one.